The war for the Vietnam people was horrific. They had been fighting since forever. They had been colonized more than 150 years ago by the French. The French had divided the country into three portions for colonial administration. When the French surrendered to the Germans in World War II, the Japanese marched in. And without having to fight. The French were at peace with Germany, and so the French let the Japanese use the aerodromes and the ports to prosecute the war in southern China. When the Japanese surrendered, the French returned. And the Vietnamese were again faced with an occupying colonial force. And when the French lost at Dien Bien Phu in 1954, we were in the center of that containment domino theory policy concerning world communism, and we immediately bolstered the French by moving in, partitioning the country, which had happened in North and South Korea, East and West Germany, Eastern and Western Europe. There were supposed to be free elections after the French pulled out the Geneva Conference. And we were as much party to not allowing that to happen because it became very apparent that Ho Chi Minh would win. 80% of the people in Vietnam liked him, and 80% of those people weren't even communists. But we were so afraid of worldwide communism spreading one thing and another. We couldn't allow that to happen.
They had military people who acted sort of like village mayors, and those, they were captains mostly, but there were some majors, had a certain number of Vietnamese troops assigned to them. And then they had a U.S. advisory package, and that package was made up of U.S. military and guys like me. I was a first lieutenant at the time, and we lived with the captain that was in charge of this district, and we advised him and his military forces when we went out on military operations. But when we weren't on military operations, we would assist him with the local medical people in the villages, with the local, there were no engineers to speak of, but just the local people who had to build the footbridges and this, that, and the other. We were there not just for their military operations, but to help them, I hate the term nation build, but we really were trying to show them the goodness of government. And they were very distrustful. The Vietnamese people were very distrustful. In the daytime, they had to put up with the taxes and the impositions of the government of Vietnam. At night, they had to put up with the taxes and the impositions of the Viet Cong, who were coming for their resources. And so it was very confusing for the Vietnamese people. Ours was ostensibly an effort to try to show that government was good, that we were really trying to help them, and we did that on a military front, but also on a medical front, on a civic action front. We were nation building, no, village building, maybe, I don't know.
I grew up where I could not go to school with white people, if you will. I could not eat in restaurants with white people. One of the fights I had as a student is we marched on the cafeteria in the state capitol in Little Rock. It was segregated. Black people could not eat there. So as a citizen, of not only of the United States, but of the city of Little Rock, I had a certain place as an African American. I couldn't do many things. Shortly before going to Vietnam, I went to a bowling alley for the first time in my life. Not because I didn't want to go bowling, but there was no black bowling alley in Little Rock. So I had to wait until the desegregation laws were passed and it was no longer legal to keep me out of the bowling alley. And that went for the movie theater, the public swimming pool, on and almost any public facility. African Americans could not use those facilities. So now all of a sudden here I am fighting for freedom. I'm being asked to kill people in the name of freedom. Well, whose freedom? So unless you're, completely brain dead, you'd have to think about it, and that's where I was. I thought a lot about it, and why am I doing this? I don't know these people. They don't know me. They haven't done anything to me. My fight is really at home.